Welcome, Billy, to our next episode of Who's Penny. How are you going today?
Good, Damian. Thanks for having me.
That's all right. Billy, tell us a little bit about Jinba IT, and then we can get into some value add for our listeners today.
Yeah, great. So Jinba IT is a next generation IT provider. So we do IT support management and cybersecurity using Microsoft 365. To expand on that a little more, we do fixed price, all inclusive packages that include cybersecurity best recommendations for all our clients. So yeah, it's a bit of a summary.
And are you working across a range of industries as well?
Yeah, predominantly our clients are in the financial services and legal sector, but we do have a few miscellaneous outside of that.
Because generally IT is IT, right? It can go across varying industries. It doesn't necessarily always have to be focused into one industry. Is that right?
It would depend on the business. We believe that our technology and the solutions we provide are more geared towards billable hours type businesses.
Yes, okay.
So continuous workflows, and also niching in technology allows you to understand the technology better. It's more of the wider you go, the thinner you get, and then you're starting to fight fires instead of fixing the problem.
So what we want to do today, Billy, is provide our listeners, and hopefully there will be lots, on some pointers around things to consider in an IT provider or an IT platform. So what's our first tip today that we want to share with everyone?
I think the first thing would be investing in, well, most professional services are using Microsoft 365 and or Office 365. A lot of people aren't aware that Microsoft 365 provides the entire IT infrastructure suite. So everything from cybersecurity to business collaboration to website forms, automation processes and systems. Most businesses I interact with, I find they're paying for 3 or 4 things that they already have. They just need to invest the time into that core function that everyone already has.
And I think that, Office 365 and Microsoft 365 continues to develop, and it continues to grow. You just sometimes you don't see the additions because you're not across them.
Yeah, and that's where an IT provider comes in handy, because they are the biggest, baddest boy in the world or person in the playground, so they tend to suck up everyone's intellectual property and make it their own.
Yeah,
and can improve it on a regular basis, whereas some people would take a team to just figure out one thing that Microsoft has done.
What's another tip for our listeners, Billy?
I guess to continue the Microsoft front, invest in cybersecurity. There is a serious amount of problems that are happening since COVID, but these things are only going to get worse. But at the same time, it doesn't have to cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. You've already got the Microsoft technology stack. You can really get systems as good as the Department of Defense are using, because they're currently using these systems.
And I bet you've seen some horror stories. Is there a quick horror story that you can share with us?
There's a fair few. One of the best ones I've seen is that someone had their security systems pointed to the internet. So they're CCTV, so you could literally watch them in the office, because they'd set it up, plugged it in, and no one had ever actually checked to see where the IP or the address was pointing, and it was just exposed to the internet. So security cameras are kind of pointless if the whole world can watch them.
Yes, as we might say, it's a trap for young players, Billy.
Yeah. The stories go on, but there's always improvement to be made.
And what's our final tip that our listeners could use when considering an IT provider?
There is industry best practice that exists. No one seems to know it. Unfortunately, in our space, there is no regulation around skills for IT providers or certifications. But if you look up things like the Australian Cybersecurity Centre, the Centre for Internet Security, these are great places to get the how-to guide. Obviously, if you don't have the technical know-how, you need someone like us. But check that your provider's providing these things for you. Hold them accountable to the things that they say they will do, because if they're not, well, you could lose your entire business overnight. Serious note, sorry.
No, that's okay, Billy. We'll end on a fun note. So as we'd like to always end our catch-ups, tell us a bit of a useless talent that you might have.
I was very much a history and politics nerd as a young fellow, and it drives everyone in my family nuts, but I can tell you some very random facts about history and all manner of things.
Tell us, Billy, we were chatting before. Tell us about was it the first Roman Empire that had a beard?
Yeah, Hadrian, who built Hadrian's Wall in Scotland and across the German Rhine. Good history fact. It's probably the first hipster in history.
Very good. And what about an old trend that you'd like to come back again?
I'm a bit of a fan of the 1970s and 80s pastel kind of color schemes and things like that. Yeah, good old retro ski and surf gear is pretty good in my opinion.
Fantastic. Well, Billy, thanks very much for taking some time out today to give our listeners some points and some tips, and hopefully they can take that and be useful to them. So thanks very much today. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Damian. Appreciate it.
No dramas.